Welcome to This Week in Princeton Vikings Sports here on VikeNation.org and ESP Media powered by Sidearm Sports. I'm Jason Grieford. As always, we're joined by Princeton Athletic Director Joe Roberts. Joe, good to see you once again. How are things up in Vike Nation?
What a great weekend we just came off of, Jason. It's great to see you. And as I look out the window, a little bit of smile go in the air as we may see a little bit of rain today.
Hopefully so. And it looks like it's going to change over from a late summer and into fall. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out here as the leaves start turning. Let's start talking about some of your athletic teams. And let's start off with a big one for the school and for yourself, cross country, having the invite over the weekend, hosting the invite. A lot of teams there, a lot of really strong teams were in this field. So take us through how you thought the execution of the event went, given that you're the host of it. So you've got to put all this together. And then also, how do you think your runners performed?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, it was an absolute gorgeous day on Saturday, and it was probably, I don't know, in the top 5 of ideal conditions to run a cross-country event as far as running goes. I know sometimes runners may like it a little bit warmer than what it was, but with the cloud cover, the cool morning that we had coming in, it was just absolutely beautiful. And Landmark Church is an incredible place. It was the first time I'd ever been on that property, and just an incredible venue for us to be able to host our cross-country invite there, and for us to be able to go over there and practice as well. And so really a lot of thanks goes out to the staff of Landmark for allowing us to do that. Our grounds and maintenance staff, led by Todd Cutel and Darren Schreiber, Darren does an unbelievable job for our athletic department in terms of ensuring that our facilities, our grounds, our events are ready to go day in and day out. And they worked double, triple time to make sure things were right for our kids in the way that they needed it. And then our coaching staff. Without our coaching staff, to round up the parent volunteers who were all in on the event, our coaches who worked tirelessly leading up to Saturday, and then even on Saturday still continued that effort. All the credit goes back to all of them. And so they put on an incredible event. We had some really, really strong teams there. Walnut Hills on the boys' side's going to be a pretty strong force to be reckoned with into the postseason. And then the results that Milford put in were pretty good on the girls' side. And you saw some really high-quality runners there. But from a Princeton's perspective, overall, I thought we did really well, considering where we were in the level of competition. A 7th place finish for the boys, a 4th place overall finish for the girls. But what kind of struck me, and I was thinking about this morning in preparation for today, was watching runners like Matthew M., who is a traditional water polo player, comes out and runs cross country because water polo is in the spring. And I think about him, and I think about a Tommy Burton, who's a water polo player who's now playing golf, a McDaniel, who's a water polo All-American for us, and he's playing soccer, probably going back to his little bitty soccer days, to his roots of a young child. Just the different opportunities that these student athletes now get to have when you shift a sport into a different season, what they're able to try and seeing some success. It was really, really good to see. And to see Grace for her senior day to be able to run and compete, who's battled injuries. I was talking to Josh Horner, our athletic trainer, on Saturday. He's never really seen her finish a race because she has battled injuries all through her career. And here she is now a senior, and she's healthy, and she's running, and she's being able to do some things there. So all in all, I would say it was an A+ day. And it's setting the tone for us as we get ready. We're just a couple of weeks away from the GMCs and then obviously the postseason. So none of us thought we would be here at this point in terms of we didn't know what this pandemic was going to bring us, as we've talked about all year long. But it was really great. And as we were leaving on Saturday, I was pulling out of the drive, and the coaches were walking up to their vehicles, and I just said, guys, let's get together this week and start getting 21's meet planned and prepared, because you put on an event like that, then teams will start to get attracted. And that course is very difficult in terms of the slope. Matt Weber was our tail driver for the races that day. And so during the girls varsity race, I jumped in the gator with him, and I didn't realize the incline that you have coming up the finish. Kind of reminds you of 18 at Augusta. There's a pretty steep incline there. And what those kids have to persevere to get through to burn it out at the end. So great day, great event, and really looking forward to it, keeping that meet going.
So you didn't get out and decide to try and take the hike up the hill with your own 2 feet?
I could have, but I just thought maybe I was worried about Matt. It'd been a long day
Yes.
for him, so I wanted to make sure that he was safe and had somebody with him the whole time.
But it sounds like overall a pretty successful event for you.
Absolutely.
And now that we're starting the next week, have you heard some preliminary interest from teams who maybe want to come back next year if you're able to host it again next year? Maybe some outside teams that maybe want to come in?
Well, what we'll do now is, the word of mouth will start. And so, cross country is an event where everyone gets locked into a traditional race. So it's hard to break those traditional races. And this was an opportunity for us to slot something on a Saturday because the Centerville night relays or night invite was canceled because of what's going on. So it's really hard to pull, but what can happen is let's just use this as the locked in weekend. Centerville night race will probably stay, but what you can do is you can get some teams that will run in the morning with one group because cross country does have a large number, and they may not bring your A team to a race, but they'll bring kids that are going to compete and get out there and need times. And so that's the key. You have a group that runs in the morning, and then you may go to an evening race. And in fact, that was Coach Ziner with us last year, and now Coach Cobb on the boys side. We've talked about that. Let's break out your top 8. Yeah. And if you want to put them in a position at a high level race that's going to attract a lot of teams, i.e. the Centerville night race, but we have a whole group of student athletes that are running and are getting real close to that edge. And especially if they're younger, we can grab them some solid competition and host a very quality invite where those teams are going to say, yes, we're going to send our runners to you in the morning, and then our next group's going to go in the evening. So finding those dates are very critical for us, but we'll be able to track some people. In fact, I was bragging a little bit to my old cross country coach at Lexington Saturday night about the event. And she said, I'll tell you what, it could be a trip for us next year. And they're looking at, they're number 1 in the state right now in Division II on the girls side. Their boys are down a little bit. She's looking at another state title on D2, but, bringing them down here and bring a group down to run in the morning in our event, and then she'll take, a group of kids to Centerville that evening. That'd be pretty good for us. But we'll be able to word of mouth and what Coach Campbell and Coach Cobb are doing every weekend when they go to the races, talking to these other coaches, it's going to attract and it's going to grow. So it's going to be a high quality meet through and through.
Yeah, and that's what we hope, especially sounds like given how well the execution went of it as well. And that's certainly good to hear. Let's move on and let's move on to the links here. And let's talk about boys golf. Yeah, they had the GMC championships this past week, finished a distant 9th. And again, Mason's been the standard bearer for a long time. And they showed out well there. So boys team finishes where they finished. So, they've got the sectionals coming up this week. How are they looking to turn the page from the GMC heading into the sectionals now when they head out there?
Well, now it becomes individual. It does. It becomes where, just jumped on the GMC site. Cody finishes 22nd. Day 2, really, we kind of, the wheels kind of fell off day 2. I don't know if it was a mental, I would say a lot of it is mental. Some of it is when you play a bunch of dual matches that are 9-hole events, and sometimes because people need to keep the pace of play moving, they say double par. And then you go to a place like Walden Ponds, and you keep your score, and you knock 2-3 balls out of bounds, you're already heading down a road that it's really hard to recover from. But that's turning it off. That's what these student athletes are preparing themselves for. Hats off to Mason and Lakota East and what they're able to do across the board. But, it just goes to show you how tough and how deep the GMC is in boys and girls golf. I think Coach Bagley's got to round them up. We go up to Middletown this coming Thursday and do a little scrimmage match with Middletown and Milford to kind of get in tune. And then we'll play our practice round out at Whitewater, I believe, with Ross. I think Ross is going to join us out there. And then we'll kind of get ready. And now it really is about shooting the right score to advance yourself through. And I think, again, going back to what Cody did day 1 and what he was able to do, at least post a score on day 2, it's going to be about finding pen placements, about making putts. So all in all, I think ninth is not where we wanted to be, obviously, but it's kind of conducive to where we were after 2 days.
Well, like you said, it's also a very, very tough league, to crack through those top couple of schools that seemingly are up there year after year. Let's move on to the girls' side. We touched on them last week. They completed the GMCs in our conversation a week ago, and we talked about some of the highlights there. Queen Ariana Fluker, doing what she did there, and really give you a nice shot in the arm, especially for her individually. They're winding the regular season down as well, just like the boys are. What's the mood around the girls' golf team right now?
I think it's steady. I saw Ariana the other day. She was out at the golf ranch at the driving range. My son's plays on the 7th grade team, and went out to pick him up from practice, and she was out there just kind of knocking some balls around a little bit, and she was on doing a little chipping around the putting green, and I think they're just kind of in that calm sense right now. They know that they've got some work to do. The season's starting to wind down. The weather is starting to change. We are going to really start to look at a fall. And, I think she in particular is going to put that mindset into play, that she knows that she's going to have to go out there and play her game and post a score that's going to advance her to the district. She's not looking for a top 5 right now. She's looking for what do I need to post to advance us into the district, because the field is going to be so deep. Yep. And then from there, she's really going to start to look at, once she advances, if she's able to post that and move those through, then it comes into the time where she's going to have to turn that mindset to, okay, who do I have to match up against? Because I really believe golf is, not only are you playing the person, but you're playing the golf course. And so you've got to know where to place the ball. You've got to know what you need to do to score and advance yourself through.
Let's move on and talk about your tennis team. And for many of our conversations, we've kind of talked more about the team aspect of tennis. And they showed out very well at the Coaches Classic, finished second in their flight. But I want to talk about one of your players individually, and that's Brooklyn Bowen. She finishes first out there in the flight. You look on the GMC website right now, she's 14-1 in first singles, is about as good as you can ask for. She's been spectacular all season long. And of course, you've got the GMC championships coming up here soon. Talk to us a little bit about, not only Brooklyn as a person, kind of who she is, kind of off the court, but then once she gets out there, her type of play and what kind of leader she's been for your program.
So, Brooklyn is, she is about as quiet as it gets when you see her away from the court. And then she is as loud as it can be when she's on the court. And some of that, I truly believe. I've never asked her this question because I think, just, hey, you work with what you got to work with. But sometimes I wonder if it is a mental thing. If, you're out there like Venus and Serena Williams, when they kind of set that tone in the professional level of yelling after every shot or releasing energy. It really is. If you look at Bryson DeChambeau, what he does now on the professional tour in golf, he is, you can hear those energy breeze as he gets ready and he's loading himself to just launch that golf ball. Well, Brooklyn's the same way. She's just loading herself to just fire that tennis ball back and just releases a ton of energy. And I think sometimes it's a little bit intimidating to some of these players because they're not expecting it. Now, after 4 years, and she's probably done it this way for 3 years, they kind of have that mindset. And so she is just done a great job of managing what she can do and controlling herself out there on the tennis court. It is a comfort zone for her. There are times when I think, man alive, she has just gone over the top with just where she is, and maybe she needs a break or maybe she needs some downtime. But I don't think she wants it. I can see her out there just hitting tennis ball after tennis ball after tennis ball. And, I think right now it's really important for Coach Bruning to kind of wrap those girls in and say, here we go. Because this Wednesday, we'll head over to Mason for the singles of the GMC. And then on Thursday, we're going to have the doubles tournament over there. And then Saturday will be the finals. And there is some pressure and some high expectation on Brooklyn to perform at maximum level this week. And while I still think there's a lot more to do, I just don't want her to get let down so quick. And so I think she's going to be ready to go and set that tone and set that early, because it really will prepare her for down the road. We're looking at what's going to happen. We think that she has potential to be in the state tournament. So, bounce here, bounce there can change some things, but as long as she maintains her health and her energy level, she's going to be just fine.
How is she handling that pressure then? I mean, everybody, you know how good she is. She knows how good she is. I have to imagine the entire GMC knows how good she is. And like you said, a lot of pressure on her going into this tournament to deliver the results that you're going to need if you're going to want to compete there for the team title. How is she handling that?
I don't even know if she feels the pressure right now. I think it's more external than anything. Maybe if we see in the final match on Saturday, if she's fortunate enough to advance herself all the way to, maybe she'll start to feel some of that pressure. But like I was saying, the tennis court is kind of a comfort zone for her. So I don't know if she carries that burden on her as much as the rest of us do, because we place from a fan perspective or an adult perspective, we carry this idea that, you've got to be where you need to be. And I think maybe we place more on it than she does. She just wants to go out there and throw the ball in the air and hit it pretty hard. It's that old rock and roll style tennis. The harder you hit it, the better, So but it is fun to watch. I will say that.
Yeah, she's had a terrific season, no doubt. Let's move on to the pitch, and let's start with the boys soccer team. Starting with 3 of the next 4 on the road. You got Hamilton coming up first. Tough stretch they're in right now. Winless in 5 straight. They've tied the 1 against Lebanon last week, but kind of struggling right now offensively. Only scored 2 goals in the last 5, and both those came in that Lebanon match. So, we talked last week. You've got one of the better keepers in the league in Cole Walker, and I think everybody knows that. He's up on the leaderboard, not only in saves, but also he's up there near the top in shutouts as well. So, knowing that you have such a good guy as the last line of defense there, what adjustments are you seeing Coach Keithspay and his staff making to try to pump up the offense, to try and get Cole Walker some help on that side and take some of the pressure off him where he doesn't necessarily feel he has to go out and pitch a shutout every time he's out there?
Well, and it kind of goes back. He starts it. I believe that soccer does start from the goalie and move itself forward, and so he's going to have to they have to hone in on what they're doing as a team. And rely on that defensive line more. And that defensive line has to step up and get the ball to the other half of the field and and then our offense has to do a great job of spreading the field and passing the soccer ball so that it stays down at that end. And we've got to head to Hamilton, and then we were able to add Winton Woods to the schedule late just last week, and that's going to replace Springboro, who when the pandemic hit, went to a league-only schedule. So we'll head to Winton Woods Saturday morning and then come back here with Mason at home. So, and then we'll try to wrap out the season at Sycamore, LaSalle, and see where it goes with Edgewood and Coleraine. So it's going to be a tough stretch for them from a soccer perspective. Yeah. Obviously, Mason, Sycamore, LaSalle probably are traditionally rich in soccer. And then, Hamilton, Winton Woods, Edgewood, Coleraine, that could be where we need to start setting some tone and getting some wins, a little bit of confidence side of things. Yeah. The hard part's going to be, for some of that's going to be on the seeding side of it, with the seed meetings coming up here in a couple weeks on the 11th of October. Mm-hmm. We'll still have 2 matches to go before we see the final results. But it's right now, it's going to be about some confidence for the kids. It's going to be about them getting together and realizing that, hey, the season's still the season. Yeah. Win or lose, we still have to work together as a team and build each other back up. And you could get yourself in a pretty good position where you're probably middle of the pack or a little bit below middle of the pack in the seeding results for the tournament. Maybe you rattle off 1 or 2 wins, and that kind of moves you through the sectional, and maybe you get a little confidence going in for next year too.
Do you get the sense of maybe it's kind of the same vibe that the girls are in right now? That they've been struggling a little bit as of late. You've got Hamilton coming up this week. They've not won in the league as of yet. It's just a tough season for them as well. Are they looking at that game with Hamilton as a must-win? This is one we gotta have moving forward to the end of the year.
I believe that wholeheartedly, Jason. I think that is a must-win for them, and in terms of we've got to come out with the intensity, the energy, the focus, and the drive to go compete, and not continually. It's not that we lay down. It's just that mental letdown happens. You get down 1 or 2 goals, and it's just like the wind gets knocked out of you, and it's just okay. Just let the clock run, because we don't. We're not ready to just face that adversity and keep fighting forward. So you've got to look at the match with Hamilton almost as we've got to get after it. They played really good on Saturday, and it was absolutely gorgeous day. They just have to keep that focus going and really kind of take it into this coming week, because just like the boys, you've got a Mason, a Sycamore, a Baden, a Carroll, and then you have a Coleraine and a Talawanda that again, Mason, Sycamore, Baden, Carroll probably have a pretty strong, rich soccer condition versus what you're going to see with Hamilton, Coleraine, Talawanda, albeit Hamilton and Coleraine being in the league. And so that's going to be very critical for us as well. So, we got to take it in stride. We got to take it match by match, but the girls probably need to get this one this Thursday so that they can get a little confidence running in toward the end of the season.
Let's talk about volleyball, and we were able to broadcast the match last week against Lakota East on WatchHSports.tv. And you talked last week in giving some fans what they would see: a team they're gonna scrap, they're gonna hustle, and they're gonna fight hard. And we saw a lot of that in that match. That you take one on the chin early in the first set against Lakota East, but then they fight back. I thought the latter half of the first set and all the way through the second set, they were making plays, and for a while they were outplaying Lakota East. Played very well in the second set, and then Lakota East makes that run at the end of the second set to win it, and then the third set they just took over from there and closed the deal out for a sweep there. But again, not indicative of how competitive I thought your team was. So having said that, where do you feel like this team is at in terms of the process of putting that complete match together, where you can get a good start, sustain it, close the deal, and then from there try and carry that on into the next match?
So first one, you guys did an unbelievable job broadcasting that match last Tuesday against. How about that front line for Lakota East?
They're great.
That's pretty. Unbelievable front line that they have there. So you're 100% right. I thought that the first match, it's like, wow, this is going to be kind of indicative of what we've seen the season is going to go. But then all of a sudden, Coach Sparks comes out and she makes a little adjustment in the rotation. She trades out 2 players, and that kind of, it just changed things. It was just a move, an adjustment in the rotation, changed just kind of where the kids were. And you're right, they took them all the way, and to come up short, but then they kept that momentum going in that third and final match, and it really does show that the kids are getting there. It kind of goes back to what we had talked about last week. Yeah. They just have to keep the play going. They have to stay together. Our coaching staff from top to bottom in volleyball has done an unbelievable job of developing our kids. And they work tirelessly to make sure that our kids are competing at the highest level. And then you look at this, what I call the final stage of our schedule. And this is now confidence time for them. This will be where they can really see because the battle-tested opponents that we've gone through night in and night out on our schedule, this will kind of really help us at the bottom end to give our kids a little bit of momentum, to give our kids a little bit of an edge, again, as we head into that October 11th seed meeting. And kind of maybe you make a serve here and a serve there, and the ball goes one way or other. The next thing you know, you could be in the sectional final or district semifinal. You just don't know. It depends on how the seeds are going to come out and where you're going to land. But you rattle off a couple of wins, or at least take them, even if you can get some of these matches to 5, or 4, beyond 3, kind of like what we did with Hamilton. If you can get there, then you can see, okay, everything that all this time and what we're doing day in and day out in practice, the results are starting to come. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be important for our program.
I think one of the things, too, that fans should also know who maybe weren't there live or didn't get to see the match yet on WatchHSports.tv is that none of the girls hung their heads during the match. When things weren't going their way, they stayed positive throughout. And I think it's a credit to Coach Sparks and the staff for setting that mindset for sure. Lastly, let's talk about your football team. Had that hiccup against Lakota East, and we were kind of wondering where they were, but where they were mindset wise. But they turned it around quickly with a really nice bounce back win over Middletown, 56-24. You're now 4-1 ahead of Friday's regular season finale against Fairfield. You look at Fairfield; they're 1-4 on the year. So from the outside, it's okay. Maybe we got one here, but 2 of those losses are by a combined 5 points. So a bounce here, a tip ball there, and they're 3-2. Do you think that's part of the message from Coach Daniels to your team that yes, they're 1-4? Don't let that record fool you. This is a pretty good ball team we're playing.
Well, they have to. And here's the unique part about this football season that everyone's been talking about. Everyone's in. Now it's about where you fall when the votes come down after tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And so I stopped in the coach's office after the game. Yep. And I said to Coach, I said, did you see Lakota East knocks off Fairfield by a field goal? Hamilton turns around and beats Mason. Those are critical for us to have conversations about, because we came up short against Lakota East, but Lakota East turns around and beats Fairfield. Mm-hmm. So it shows that, Lakota East is not, they're not anyone to take lightly, nor is Fairfield. And then Mason going in undefeated, and Hamilton knocking them off and us knocking off Hamilton earlier in the year. It shows where Hamilton is. Again, top to bottom in the GMC, I mean, we are solid football from top to bottom. Mm-hmm. And Middletown it had everything that they had to go on this year. Middletown's kind of in week 2 in terms of where they are preparation-wise. And the fact of the matter is everybody gets in, and we know that Middletown's being moved to Region 2 to balance some things out. They've got a chance to win a playoff game or two if the seats fall out correctly for them. I mean, they're playing good football. They've got 2 really good running backs. Their line is really good. We came out ready to go Friday night. We knew that we had to make a statement there. There's obviously a lot of relationships between the 2 coaching staffs. And a lot of care for what's going on between the 2 coaching staffs and the programs themselves. And it was a hard-fought, hard-hit football game. I thought we ran the football really well. I thought that still on defense, we have 1 or 2 just little tiny nicks that we have to kind of tighten up and firm up a little bit on the defensive side to really put in a good, solid 4 quarters of football. We're about 3 3/8 right now. From a fan perspective, I stood in the end zone the entire game and just watched. From a fan perspective, you have just a few here or there, and you make a couple adjustments. But I know our coaching staff is continuing to do the right things. And then we got to hone up a little bit more on our special teams. That's going to be the staple for what we have to do. I think running the football and special teams execution is very critical for us this year. So really looking forward to heading to Fairfield Friday night. Looking forward to seeing us kind of close out that regular season as far as the schedule goes right now, and then let's start focusing in on what happens in the playoffs.
And when we convene here next week, we'll know what's going on as far as playoff matchups go. And obviously all the other sports we've touched on here today, another week stepping forward as well. Some into the postseason, still some of the regular season winding down. Joe, great catching up again. We'll look forward to it a week from now.
Absolutely, Jason. Thank you so much for this morning.
Absolutely. That is Princeton Athletic Director Joe Roberts joining us for This Week in Princeton Viking Sports here on ESP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports.